reform and opening up in the year of 1978. And also China has been greatly influenced or impacted by the technology revolution happened during the 1980s.
那么为了中国更好的发展经济，那中国的决策者们就提出了一个实施火炬计划的这么一个高科技产业发展的这么一个计划。那么这个计划的提出呢，是在1988年，由中国的国家国务院来批准，由国家的科技部来组织实施。那么这项计划呢，还专门成立了一个机构，就是科技部的火炬中心，由科技部火炬中心来具体的来组织实施。那么火炬计划的宗旨呢，就是为了这个实行中国的改革开放，来响应新科技革命和产业变革的这么一个大的时代，来促进中国高新技术成果的商品化、产业化和国际化。
下一页翻不了。So I would like to continue the translation, and we will have our technician to deal with the slides. Okay. So to further support and encourage China's economy, to further encourage China's economy development, according to the analysis and finally made the decision by the central government to start the Torch program, which is specialized in the high technology zone and high tech industry. And the Torch program started in the year 1988. It was approved by the State Council and organized by the Ministry of Science and Technology of PRC. And just for this specific Torch program, it has established an organization called Torch Center under the governance of the Ministry of Science and Technology of PRC. The Torch Center actually took the responsibility to organize and implement related issues and policies, strategies, and incentives to encourage the commercialization, industrialization, and transformation of science and technology research results and achievements.
那么在改革开放之前，中国实行的是计划经济。那么改革开放以后，特别是我们准备实施火炬计划的时候，我们正在向市场经济来进行过渡。那么火炬计划的主要内容就是建设这个科技园区，这个大力发展科技企业的孵化器，促进中国的高校和科研机构的技术转移，来进行产业集聚，培育和发展创新型的产业集群。那么这部分内容我们说是载体建设。
So before the year 1978, that is also the year to implement the reform and opening up policy, China adopted the planned economy. And after the year 1978, after the new policy and reform about reform and opening up, China has adopted or taken the trend to transit to the market-oriented economy. And also the Torch program is implementing under this environment or circumstances. So at that time, the major content of the Torch program is to set up science parks and also science and technology related incubators and bodies or organizations to undertake technology transfer and technology transformation, and organizations to harbor or to incubate the cluster of industry cluster, especially for high-tech industries.
那么中国在计划经济时代呢，主要是国有企业参与国家的经济建设。那么改革开放以后，特别是我们提出火炬计划以后，我们更加注重科技型中小企业的培育，科技型民营企业的培育，科技型这种高新技术企业的培育。那么呢，其实在很多当时中国，因为主要还是农业还很发达，其实我们还有很多乡镇大力发展的乡镇企业，所以当初我们有一个说法，叫让开大陆占领两乡。 那么科技部当初实施了2个计划，一个叫火鸡计划，一个是星火计划。那么火鸡计划呢，主要是刚才我讲的，培育科技型的中小企业，培育高新技术企业，培育这个民营的科技企业。那么星火计划呢，主要是发展乡镇企业。所以的话呢，就从国有企业到民营企业到乡镇企业，就成为中国改革开放在那个时代这个3驾马车来推进共同来推进参与中国的经济建设。
So during the planned economy period of China, the economy of the nation mainly drove by the state-owned enterprises. So the public sectors contributed the most to the economy development and prosperity. And after the China takes the transition to market-oriented economy, and which is also the environment for the TOUCH program to implement and to encourage science and technology development. So for the TOUCH program specifically, science and technology, small and medium-sized science and technology companies, private companies from private sectors, and high-tech enterprises are the major bodies to be encouraged and to be further implemented or to be supported. And also another situation about China during that specific period of time, that is China is a major country for agriculture. So China has a large territory of township. And at that time, China has encouraged greatly about the enterprises or businesses from the township. So I should say, giving the conclusion at that time, China has held 2 major programs. The first one is the topic of today, TOUCH program, centering on the supporting and encouragement to the small and medium science and technology companies from private sectors, and also high-tech companies. And the other program is called SPARK program, centering on the agriculture development and the centering on the township enterprises. So these are the several pillars to support the economic growth at that time in China.
那么火鸡计划呢，也使中国从原来一个相对比较封闭的国家，来实行这个开放、更加开放的、积极的开放政策。那么我们引进外资，我们让我们的很多学生到国外去留学。那么我们也跟很多这个国际上的这个企业来进行这个经济上的合作所以呢，中国这个实行了比较积极的这种开放政策。那么高新技术产业的国际化也是火鸡计划一个非常重要的内容那在这方面的话呢，我们希望能够跟国际上的很多跨国公司共同来兴办研发中心，来吸引他们的投资来这个吸引他们的先进技术来共同的来参与到中国的经济发展当中来。
So and also in the TOUCH programs, so before the 1978, before the reform and opening up policies in China, China adopted quite an isolated development methodologies. But after that, China has take more open-minded strategies or mindsets to encourage the international cooperation, to embrace the international cooperation. So in the international cooperation, there are several major points. The first one is to attract the foreign investment or foreign capitals to stimulate Chinese economy and to inject into the Chinese market. And the second is to send Chinese talents to study overseas, to learn from the best practices of these advanced countries. And the third is to initiate international cooperations in the scale of enterprises. So that is enterprises-oriented international cooperation. So that are the facts showing that China has been actively participating or initiating international cooperation. It is the same with the high-tech industry. China has encouraged the high-tech industry and related international cooperation and communication. Just for example, the TORCH program. Under the TORCH programs, so the government or the program responsible person, the center, jointly establish R&D centers or R&D bodies with the international giants or multinational companies, and also actively attract funds, capital, or technology asset or knowledge from those advanced countries or multinational companies.
那么火炬计划从1988年到现在，从高新区的建设、科技企业孵化器的发展，到技术转移，到高新技术企业培育，那么这些工作到现在还在继续的推进，应该说取得了非常大的成效。特别是高新区，我们兴办科技园区。 我们现在全中国呢，一共有169家国家的高新区，那么中国呢有5000多家这种科技园区、工业园区、出口加工区、保税区等。那么高新区的话呢，这个19年实现营业总收入这个38万亿，应该说这个也占了中国非常大的一个经济比重，为中国经济发展做出了非常重要的支撑和贡献。
So as we understand that since 1988, China has implemented the TORCH programs and established the TORCH Center. The center actively building or constructing high technology zones in China and high technology industry incubation centers or platforms in China, and actively undertaking technology transfer and also the cultivation of high-tech industries and enterprises. And this kind of effort and momentums continues to date. And just give you a look about the national high-tech zone in China. By far, up to 2021, there are 169 national high-tech zones altogether in China. And there are another 5,000 clusters or local parks or bonded areas or areas with special incentives. So especially in 2019, the operating revenue of this 169 national high-tech zone achieved 38.6 trillion RMB, which has injected great power to the economy development of China. And also we see it as it is a key part of the Chinese economy.
那么中国的科技企业孵化器也有一个非常大的发展。到2019年底，中国有这个13000多家这个创业孵化机构，就是当年共服务创业团队和初创企业44万家，带动就业超过45万人，450万人。
So also we have another look about the technology business incubators in China. This type of incubators also speed up and flourishes. By the year 2019, there were altogether over 130,000 of incubators in China, with 440,000 of enterprises and startups and also business teams in these incubators, creating a employment of 4.5 million.
那么中国在很多高校、科研机构设立了很多技术转移的机构。那么19年呢，我们有技术转移示范机构432家。到这个2020年，这个我们的技术合同额一共签了55万项，技术合同成交的金额是28000亿人民币。这个总量的话呢，应该说已经超过了我们这个 R&D 的总投入。那么这个技术合同成交的金额呢，包括技术服务、技术许可、这个技术咨询、和技术交易。
So also from the university and higher education perspective, there are a lot of bodies being created to support the technology transfer and also to support the transformation of science and technology achievements. So by the year 2019, there were 432 national technology transfer centers supported by the TORCH programs. And in the year 2020, a total of 550,000 technology contracts were established, were entered in that single year, and the transaction value of technology contract was 2,825.2 billion RMB. And this amount has already surpassed the amount of R&D input. So the revenue comes from mainly several services. The first one is technology service, and the second is technology licensing, technology related to consultancy, and also technology transaction.
那么到2019年，中国的高新技术企业已经达到了将近22万家，工业总产值突破了32万亿元。那么中国有独角兽共218家，总的估值是7964亿美金。那么超级独角兽就是估值在100亿美金以上的，共有7家。其实这个独角兽呢，也是继美国之后，中国排在全世界第2位数量最多的，这个企业数量。应该说，中国在这个互联网、人工智能、云计算这个的新经济时代，中国也这个走在了这个我们这个做了很好的这个实践，也取得了非常大的成效。
From the high technology enterprises perspective, we see the business actually took a very high trend in terms of high technology intensive. By the year 2019, more than 220,000 high-tech enterprises were established in China, were existing in China actually, with a total industrial output value exceeded 32 trillion RMB. And also for the unicorn company, China also has achieved great success only after ranking number 2 in the world, only after the United States. By the year 2019, China has 218 unicorn companies, and the total value is the total valuation, market valuation is 796.4 billion on US dollars, an average value of 3.65 billion US dollars. And so there are 7 super unicorn. The company or the definition of super unicorn is the valuation of more than 10 billion US dollars. So in the other areas, in the emerging economy or new economy models, or for emerging technologies such as internet, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, China is a great practicer and contributor in that perspective.
那上面呢，我把中国火炬计划的总体情况先简要的做了一个介绍。那么下面呢，我重点介绍一下这个高新区孵化器技术转移，还有企业的培育这几个方面的主要内容。
So previously in that part, I give you the overall explanation and the general picture of the TORCH program. And next, I would like to highlight on the high-tech zone in China, science parks in China, and related activities relating to technology transfer and cultivation of high-tech enterprises.
那么我们火炬计划的一个最重要的内容是兴办科技园区。那么中国的高新区，应该说对中国经济发展起了非常重要的支撑。在设立之初，我们中国的决策者们就认为，如果说中国要兴办100个高新区，中国就能够从当初我们改革开放初期的一个经济弱国，变成一个经济的大国。
So one of the major contents or one of the major activities of the of this TORCH program is to set up the science parks in China. So China's high technology development, high-tech zone actually plays an important role or generate great contribution to the national economy and to the national development. At the beginning of the planning or at the beginning of the TORCH programs, the team or the TORCH program pioneers actually giving this presumption that if China has 100 high technology zone, China would become get rid of this kind of weak economy and become a power in the world perspective.
那么我作为火炬计划的一个参与者，我自己体会，中国的经济就是园区经济，就是园区经济。那么我们原来的这个国家领导人江泽民同志曾经在 APEC 会议上，专门提到说，兴办科技园区是人类社会非常重要的一个创举。
So me myself personally, I've been involved in the Torch program and related activities and operations. So I can see that China's economy is a park economy, or relies heavily on the science parks. And I just here want to quote the former president of China, Mr. Jiang Zemin, once said on the APEC summit that science park is a great endeavor of the humankind.
那么中国兴办科技园区应该也充分的借鉴了美国硅谷的经验。
So for China's experience and operation or the practice of science park development, we learned a lot from the Silicon Valley.
但是呢，我们又结合了中国的国情，结合我们实际的发展阶段，我们这个中央政府和科技部对高新区来也进行了新的设计。
So besides, beyond all these experiences from Silicon Valleys, the China's science parks also combines the national situations or the characteristics of China into the design or into the planning. And also the China science program. So this kind of design is done by the central government and Ministry of Science and Technology.
那么从国家呢，主要是给地方一些政策，同时授权科技部对科技园区的发展进行业务指导。那么高新区所在的地方政府是科技园区建设的责任主体，他们主要承担建设、发展这个统筹规划的这种责任和使命。那么科技部门，你比如说科技部的火炬中心和各个省市的科技的主管部门，来负责制定、贯彻、落实相关的政策。国家高新技术产业开发区管委会来负责具体的建设。
So for the science park development or for the high-tech zone development in China, different parties plays in different roles, so they collaborate with each other. I would like to give you an introduction from different roles. For the central government, actually the central government issues different policies or incentive strategies to the local government and also authorized the Ministry of Science and Technology of PRC to guide the operation and business of this high-tech zone and also local governments. For the local government where the high-tech zone exists, they are the major responsible bodies to construct, develop, collaborate and plan the high-tech zones and related issues and activities. And for the science and technology specific parties or organizations, just give you an example about for example, the local Department of Science and Technology or the Torch centers. They are the major bodies to formulate rules and policies and to implement those rules and policies to promote the local development, the development of the local high-tech zones. And for the first line practitioner or for the first line implementation is done by the management committee of the high-tech zone.
那么中国的科技园区的发展做到了，我们的经验是做了3个结合。第一个就是科技和经济的结合，第二个就是政府和市场的结合，第三个是中央和地方的结合。
So for China's science park development history or experience, we have achieved 3 integration or 3 collaboration that are the collaboration between science and technology and economy, the collaboration between government and market, and the collaboration between local government and central government.
那么中国高新区从建设初期 到现在为止，我们说经历了主要3个阶段。那么第一个阶段呢，就是初创的阶段。那么在这个阶段呢，主要是系统的推进高新区的开发建设，特别是我们主要通过土地的滚动开发，这个税收政策、招商引资来吸引国内外的企业入驻，形成产业的集聚，来发展园区经济。
So for China's high-tech zone development history, we can divide it into 3 different phases, starting from the beginning to now. The first phase is actually the exploration or the infancy stage. During that stage, the high-tech zone systematically promote. So the government or the country systematically promoted the high-tech zone development by utilizing different tools and instruments, for example, land resources, taxation policies and incentives, and the business attraction policies to attract mainly those major companies or powerful companies from both China and abroad to settle down in that high-tech zone and to create an industry cluster and to further create the skill for park economy.
那么在第2个阶段呢，我们提出了要走内生式的发展道路，就是我们很多企业我们自己要培育，那么而且中国呢，因为整个的中国地方非常大，就每个地方呢这个资源禀赋、区位条件又不一样，所以我们对不同地方的园区实行了分类的指导，所以我们提出了3类园区的建设模式，来推动这个中国科技园区的这个有特色的根据自己的情况这个来进行特色的发展。
And for the second phase, we call it the development phase. China started for the high-tech zones. They started to focus on the cultivation and incubation of the of their own enterprises. We call it to develop with the indigenous power. So to tap the potential and to create its own power. And for China, we know China is a large country with a very large territory and with differences in terms of resource allocation between different regions. So for this specific situation in China, we started this kind of a categorized science park development by putting the science parks in China into 3 different categories and to encourage the science park development with local characteristics.
那么第3个阶段呢，我们叫做战略的提升，实际上就是经过前2个阶段，中国科技园区的建设，一方面取得了很大的成效，另一方面也获取了很多宝贵的经验。那么这些经验对国家的这个体制机制改革，对区域经济的发展，对我国家产业的发展，对我们的国际合作，对我们创新创业生态环境的建设，都起到了很好的引领、辐射和示范作用。所以呢，高新区的这种战略地位更加的重要。那么高新区的很多经验扩散到了整个的这个国家的相关的其他的一些地方，成为我们这个经济发展的非常重要的这个支撑。
The third phase, we call it the strategy upgrading stage. That is starting from the year 2011 to now. And China's in the third stage, we see great effect and success or achievement from the development of the science parks in China. And also in that perspective, we have accumulated great experiences. So this experience served as or guided the institutional economic reform in China and industry development in different regions, national industry planning and economic structure optimization, international collaboration and cooperation, and also startup and entrepreneurship ecosystem building. So we believe high-tech zone actually play a leading role and has created an influence in the global, in the national perspective, and also is one of the key part for the national economy development. And with such a successful experience of the science park economy in China, their experience has been rolled out, has been delivered to the national perspective, and to further enhance the development of other areas.
那么我们从现在开始面向未来，我们开启了这个叫创新驱动高质量发展的第4个阶段。那第4个阶段呢，我们更加关注前沿科技、未来产业、数字经济、这个碳中和，你比如碳达标，这个更加的这个创新、开放、协同、绿色、共享，这样一种发展的思路。
So facing the future, we have initiated the 4th stage for the development of high-tech zone in China, that is innovation-driven and high-quality development or strategy. So we focus on those. So in this 4th stage, the high-tech zones in China will focus on the future industry and digital economy or digital technologies and carbon neutrality and related topics or industries. And also the high-tech zones in China during the 4th stage will adopt the principle of being innovative, open, collaborative, green, that is energy saving and sharing and inclusive.
那么实际上在第1阶段的话呢，创业阶段，科技园区的国家给的政策，主要是这个企业所得税。土地和税收的一些优惠政策你比如说我们像中关村试验区，一开始就是减按15%的税率征收企业所得税，这个完了那个3年内免征所得税，这个第4年至6年呢，这个减半征收所得税，那么91年开始呢，因为我们国家在中关村这个试验区的基础上。91年、92年又批了53个国家高新区，那么对这批国家高新区，国家又规定是减按15%征收企业所得税，同时实行新创办企业所得税的2免3减半。当然，这些企业都是在一定的特定的技术领域、特定的行业，它要享受这些政策。
So looking back in the 1st stage, about the initial stage or the infancy stage of the high-tech zone development in China, the government mainly issued policies in the perspective of land resources, tax rebation, and corporate income tax reduction or deduction. So just give you an example about the Zhongguancun experimental zone at that time. It enjoyed a reduced income tax rate of 15%. And for the first 3 years of an enterprise, zero tax. And from the year 4 to the year 6 of the establishment of the enterprise, it enjoyed 50% of the tax. So this kind of experience also delivered or continued into 1991. In 1991, China has set up another 53 national level high-tech zones, and all this the high-tech enterprises from within these high-tech zones can enjoy a reduction and reduce the income tax rate of 15%, with a 2-year tax off and 3-year half tax policy or incentives. But I should have emphasized that those high-tech companies cannot be anyone. They should be from the specific areas or industries.
那么在第2次创业阶段呢，这科技部提出了5个转变。以往呢，可能1次创业我们更多的是招商引资，依靠土地，依靠税收。那么2次创业呢，我们提出这个要从依靠土地资金向依靠创新驱动的这种发展模式的转变，这个依靠优惠政策，注重招商引资， 向更加注重优化创新创业环境、培育内生动力的发展模式转变。而且呢，要推动产业发展由大而全、小而全向集中优势发展特色产业主导产业方向转变。那在这个过程当中，我们也提出了这个特色的产业集群的建设，要从注重硬环境建设向更加注重软环境的建设方面转变。那么以往呢，我们可能更加注重招商引资，注重引进来。那么未来呢，我们希望能够走出去和引进来能够更好的结合起来。这就是5个转变。那么应该说，这5个转变是高新区这个发展一个非常重要的一个拐点。这个使高新区走上了创新驱动，这样一个特色产业优化环境，这个国际合作，这样的一个发展的方式。
So the second stage of the development of high-tech zones in China has been featured by 5 changes. And this kind of a transition or changes is mainly initiated by the Ministry of Science and Technology of PRC. Previously, as I mentioned in the stage 1, the major strategies or instruments is to attract business and attract investment, or by utilizing the incentives of land resources and tax rebate or tax reduction. And in the stage 2, this approach has been changed. China, the high-tech zone adopted an innovation-driven approach, trying to build the indigenous or the internal power of itself. So those previous policies on the land resources or taxations has been transformed or has been upgraded to create upgraded into a cluster or a set of policies to improve the entrepreneurship and startup environment. So creating a better environment for these startups and for the companies in the high-tech zones. And also another change is from the industry cluster perspective or industry distribution perspective. So previously, the industry is quite general and does not have a different, each high-tech zone does not have a specialized or highlighted industry. So the cluster, so to strengthen the industry cluster of a local high-tech zone by combining the local characteristics. So this is another trend to create a cluster or advantageous cluster of industries with combining the local strengths, combining the local characteristics. So you can see this kind of a transition, all these changes has reflected transition of China creating adopting a very hardware perspective high-tech zone development to soft power perspective high-tech zone development. And also previously, China mentioned focused on the one way to introduce in or to bring in foreign investment or foreign companies. And now we have adopted 2 parallel approaches. One is bring in, the other one is going out. So all these changes has enabled the transition of high-tech zone to develop with innovation and with high quality, to focus on, as mentioned again, to highlight innovation powers and to foster advantageous industries with the local characteristics and to further develop the national economy.
那么2005年，当时中国的国务院总理温家宝专门提出，就是中国的高新区一个4位一体的定位。那么这个定位呢，就是明确了高新区发展的总体的目标，这个强化了它的功能作用，奠定了高新区在中国经济发展中的重要地位。
So in the year 2005, the then Premier Wen Jiabao proposed the concept of quaternity for the development of high-tech zone in China. And this concept has identified the major purpose or the goal of the high-tech zones in China, and also strengthened the capability of indigenous innovation and strengthened the role or tasks undertaken by the high-tech zones, and finally accredited the high-tech zone for its contribution in China's economy.
那么，中国高新区之所以在中国发展的，今天能够取得这么大的成效，我们有一条非常重要的经验，就是国家要高度的重视，国家要高度的重视。那么，而且呢，国家在这个发展上呢，要给予一定的这种政策的导向的支持，政策导向的支持，所以呢，这个也是中国高新区啊，科技园区发展啊。 能够取得这么大成效的一个非常重要的原因。
So for this kind of fast achievement and success in China in terms of high-tech zone development, I believe our experience has shown that one of the major reasons driving the success is that the government, the Chinese government has attached an extremely high importance to the high-tech zone development, giving policy guidance and support to the high-tech zone development.
那么，在2次创业的这个过程当中呢，这科技部还提出了3类园区的建设。那么第一类园区呢，就是我们要启动世界一流园区的建设。那么这个世界一流园区呢，主要是对标美国的硅谷，当初这个印度的班加罗尔。 这个还有这个我们台湾的这个新竹科技园，那么创新型科技园区呢，主要是在一些中国一些这个一线的城市和科教资源比较丰富的地方来做创新型的科技园区。那么在一些这个2线城市或者是科教资源不丰富的一些地方呢，我们主要做创新型的。 科技园区、创新型的特色园区，创新型的特色园区。
So actually, in the stage 2, as I mentioned again previously, I gave you the 3 category or 3 type of parks with their local characteristics. I would like to give you the detailed introduction about each park. The first one is world-class high-tech zone, which is launched in the year 2006. And this kind of world-class high-tech zone actually is initiated. So this concept or this initiative is kicked off by the Ministry of Science and Technology. So to build science parks in China, benchmarking Silicon Valley in the United States, and high-tech zones from Bangalore, and also another high-tech zone from the Taiwan province of China. And the second type of parks is innovation-based science and technology park, which is initiated in the year 2008. So for the localities that can host this type of science and technology parks are municipalities or local provinces with strong resources in education and science and technology. And the third type of park is innovation-based characteristic parks, which is initiated in the year 2010. These parks are supposed to be hosted by areas or by regions with less intensive education and science and technology resources, mainly tier 2 cities.
那么2019年呢，这个国务院先后批复北京、武汉、东湖。 来建设在高新区的基础之上建设国家自主创新示范区。那么这个的主要目的就是要进一步的深化改革，让北京和武汉、东湖在政策上要先行先试，来不断的这个深化改革开放。那么同时呢，在2009年，这个又启动了新的高新区的这个升级的工作。 因为大家都知道，2008年呢有这个世界的金融危机，那么鉴于高新区中国高新区的这种成功的经验，我们要把这种经验能够更大的进行放大，能进行推广，来促进中国经济的这个不断的提升发展。
The next part, I would like to share you about the reform and intensification of the high-tech park development in China. So since the year 2009, the State Council has started to approve of national high-tech zones, building national innovation model areas. I give you two examples here on that year. One is Wuhan East Lake, another is Beijing Zhongguancun. So these are the two pilot programs of the high-tech zones in China. As the pilot programs, if the experience succeed, it will roll out to the national perspective. And also in the year 2009, China has initiated a program to upgrade the high-tech zones in the national perspective, because as we understand that in the year 2008, the global economy was hit dramatically by the financial crisis. So in that situation, China has trying to explore some new approaches for the sustainable development of the economy, or for the upgrading of economy, that is bringing the high-tech zone experience to the national level.
那么到2011年，那么科技部呢又专门提出了高新区这个新的发展的这种战略提升的这么一个阶段。那么提升这个阶段呢，就是说中国高新区所走过的创新之路上升为国家的战略。那么科技创新，就高新区所探索的科技创新，来提高社会生产力和综合国力的战略支撑，也把高新区这条路摆在了国家发展全局的一个非常重要的核心地位，就是实施创新驱动发展战略。所以高新区这个成功的实践啊，为中国的这个经济的发展呢，应该说也做出了非常重要的贡献。
In the year 2011, this kind of the importance of high-tech zone has been further upgrading, or has been further lifted. In that year, the year 2011, the Ministry of Science and Technology, PRC, initiated a strategy to upgrade the experience, or to upgrade the practice of high-tech zone to a national level. That is to bring the high-tech zone's experience and practice or operation to the national level to support the national economy building. Because as we understand that science and technology innovation has injected great momentum and power to the social production, and also to the building of the comprehensive competitiveness of China in the global stage. So in other words, we can see that high-tech zones has been playing a core role, one of the core elements for China's economic development. And following this kind of phenomenon, or following this kind of a trend, China started the strategy of innovation-driven economy.
那么战略提升这个阶段呢，还有一个非常重要的这个就是深化改革。那么中国政府呢，在这个股权激励，在人才引进高层次人才的政策，你比如说在资本市场和股权投资的政策，在科技企业培育的政策，这个在这个孵化器这个技术转移这个政策这方面，都出台了一系列这家更新的、也更具有探索性、更具有深化改革的这样一些政策，来推动高新区的进一步的改革开放。
So as I mentioned about the intensive or in-depth reform in the high-tech zone perspective, the Chinese government has issued a lot of experimental policies and strategies to further to dive deep about the potential of high-tech zone, and to start related experiments or exploration in high-tech zone development. Just give you several examples from the strategies or the policies, focuses on the services in the high-tech zone, talent introduction, capital investment and attraction, equity investment, incubation, and technology transfer.
那么还有一个很大的突破，就是中国在这个高新区科技企业孵化器这个探索和发展的基础之上， 中国政府提出了大众创业、万众创新的这么一个重大的战略。那么发展活力经济，这个鼓励创业，这个激励创新，来发展这个新经济，推动我们走这个创新驱动的高质量发展的这么一条道路。
So another breakthrough in China, as I mentioned about deepening the reform for innovation-driven economy or for high-tech zone development strategies in China. Another breakthrough is made in the perspective in the field of incubation. So at that time, China has initiated programs or an activity or national phenomenon that is called mass entrepreneurship and startup and innovation. So trying to inject more dynamism to the economy development by creating a great atmosphere for innovation and entrepreneurship. So also this is a way to push forward the new economy development and to push forward the high-tech industries and enterprises and to further inject power and momentum to the economy.
那么战略提升阶段还有一个非常重要的突破，就是全面推动这个国际化，国际化。那么一方面的话呢，就是说我们要加强国际创新合作，另外一方面呢，要把中国的一些好的经验、好的做法，也想能够这个支持我们发展中国家的这个融入到我们发展中国家的经济建设当中来。那么另外呢，也通过这个国际合作，来优化我们的这个中国的这个创新创业的这个生态环境。支持我们的企业走出去，那么也希望更多的国际上的这个科技友人、科学家、科技人才，这个跨国公司来中国发展，来我们来共享整个这个高新技术产业发展的这种红利。
So the next stage I mentioned about the third stage is featured by the internationalization, that is the international cooperation in high-tech zone or in high-tech industries. So China has been actively organizing the international cooperation and collaboration and exchange with in the perspective of science and technology development or science park development. So just give you several examples. China is greatly promoting, promoting the activity or to build platforms to introduce the China's experience, China's successful stories to other developing countries, and trying to make sure science and technology can be a core part of the economy, driver of the economy basis. And also another perspective for the international cooperation is trying to attract more of the foreign best practices to optimize the high-tech zone environment or innovation environment in China, and to also helping the Chinese enterprises, high-tech enterprises, to enter into the global stage, participate in the global business and interaction. And in the other way, so I just mean mutually bring in and going out, bring in these multinational companies, talents and technologies, and to let them share the really beneficial environment in China, and to make sure science and technology can achieve a booming status.
那么还有一个特点呢，就是中国高新区的发展，特别是以人为本，我们注重产成的融合。实际上，中国科技园区的发展不仅是把产业做起来了，把科技和经济紧密结合了，而且我们带动了城市的发展，带动了社会的发展，满足了人对生活合理的这种需求。所以呢，中国的高新区现在都是每一个城市最重要的一张名片，最宜居生活的一个地方。所以这个我觉得我们把产业、经济和社会，以及城市功能很好的融合在一起，这是中国这个科技园区建设发展的一个新的探索和尝试。
Another feature or highlight of the high-tech zone development in China, I should emphasize here, is the integration of city and industry. So for a high-tech zone, we are not satisfied with the industry cluster or industry production. We also want to create a harmony or want to create a livable livable environment or area for all these employees or entrepreneurs working in the high-tech zones. So that is the integration of industry and city and public. So we are not, on the one hand, we create this cluster for industries, for productions, and for economy development. On the other hand, we create a community for city and for social interaction, and we create those infrastructures to satisfy people's basic living needs. And for high-tech zones, currently speaking, the local high-tech zones has become a card for the local area. It has become the ideal area to live. So this is the exploration of China in creating the harmony between industry, city, urban area, and also the public, the society.
那么所以呢，我想呢，结合中国的科技园区的发展呢，也给大家一些建议。我们建议呢，就是说，那最好的话呢，能够这个要有一个这个发展科技园区呢，要有一个对这个科技园区进行发展规划、业务指导和政策支持的这个全国性的这个专门的机构。那这是第一点。那么第二点呢，就是各科技园区要建立专门的管委会或者管理公司来负责园区的服务和运营。那么第三个呢，就是科技园区的建设既要有科技研发创新的功能，同时要更加注意创业孵化和发展产业的功能，这样能够形成一个经济发展的一个正循环。那么第四个呢，我们说要制定好园区发展的战略规划、产业规划同时呢，对这些规划实施过程当中根据情况来进行动态的调整，来不断的完善，不断的优化，让我们的园区发展呢能够走上一个非常正确、健康的一个轨道。
The last part, I would like to give you some suggestions based on China's experience in science park or high-tech zone development. So the first suggestion is to establish a body or organization to be in charge of the planning, business guidance, and policy supporting and supportive policy development for the high-tech zone. And the second is to create a specialized body, either a management committee or a management company to deal with the daily operations or activities of that high-tech zone. And the third is that high-tech zones or science parks should not only focus on the function of innovation, of research, but also pay extremely high attention to the functionality of incubation and industry development. And number four, the first suggestion would be creating always to have this kind of forward-looking insight and to make strategic planning and industrial planning for park development, and to dynamically adjust the planning in order to optimize related policies or development schemes.
那么下面呢，我介绍第二部分，就是我们火炬计划的另外一个主要的内容，就是科技企业孵化器的政策。
So next is about the technology business incubator.
实际上，中国的孵化器的发展也是联合国科教门卫组织最早呢派了一个专家，这个专家是印度人，叫拉克拉来中国传授孵化器的经验。那么从那开始，中国就这个大力的发展科技企业孵化器。
So the origin of technology business incubators in China is actually started from a visit of an official from the UNESCO, which is an Indian official called Lakla. And he came to China to introduce about the incubator experiences. And starting from that point, China is greatly promoting the business incubator building.
那么中国的科技企业孵化器呢，也经历了从一开始这个探索阶段是由官方来主办，主要是做公益性的服务。那么后来呢，发展到第二个阶段呢，这个国家给一些税收的优惠政策，也有很多民营资本介入。那么到第三个阶段呢，实际上就是我们说的，我们现在是用的大众创业、万众创新，国家是已经上升为国家的一种战略。那么这个创业创新，我们认为也是新经济发展的这种核心的要义。所以呢，现在呢，中国呢大力的发展孵化器，大力的推进创新创业。所以你比如说在中关村，每年都会新注册公司，1万多家，将近2万家，所以这个数量是非常的庞大。所以中国的创新创业活跃度啊，应该说这几年是越来越高。
The evolution of China's technology business incubator also covered 3 stages along the journey. The first stage is exploration. It's mainly government dominated or government sponsored, with great support from the local governments, and considered as a public service. And the stage 2 is kind of development stage. The government put in place referential tax treatment like tax rebate and reduction at the national level, and also invite private capitals and fund to contribute to the development of incubation platforms, and also have this kind of a batch of professional incubators emerged to serve the incubation and investment, like a matchmaking platform. And the third stage is actually, what I mentioned, again, China began to implement the mass entrepreneurship and innovation strategies and promote the development of makerspace. And we can see actually the makerspace are the core driver for the new economy development in China. I'll give you an example about Zhongguancun area. Annually speaking, the newly established or created companies in Zhongguancun areas can be up to 10,000 or 20,000. So that also reflects the dynamism in China for entrepreneurship and innovation.
其实，在孵化器的早期阶段呢，中国主要是国有企业和国有的事业单位来做一些综合性的孵化器。那么后来呢，我们也做了一些，因为中国改革开放以后有大量的留学生，出国留学，那么也办了一些留学生的创业园。那他们这个留学回国以后呢，就在这个留学生创业园来创业。另外，中国有很多大学，我们也办了一些大学的科技园，来进行科技成果的转移转化。所以这是在起步阶段。那么服务的内容呢，主要是提供孵化场地，你比如说实行房租的减免，另外呢，提供一些一般的服务，你比如说这个财务啊，这个会议啊，这个法律啊，信息啊，代办一些企业注册的手续啊等等的这样一些服务。同时呢，还有少量的一些增值服务，你比如人才培训、咨询服务、资金筹措等等。那么这是在早期在探索阶段，孵化器做的一些事儿。
In the early stage, there are several major bodies to implement or to operate the platform of incubator platforms. There are several major, as I mentioned, there are several main bodies. The first one is state-owned enterprises or state-owned institutions. They created comprehensive incubator platforms. And the second is those type of startup parks that is specialized for the overseas students. The students finish their studies abroad and return back to China can set up their business in this specific park. And another type is the university-sponsored or university-led science park, mainly in charge of the transformation and transfer of the science and technology achievements from the university. And also for the services provided by these incubation platforms in the first stage, mainly the preferential policies is free of rental, that is apparent, that is obvious, and also some general services, for example, accounting, finance and accounting, meeting organization, conference organization, legal services, and company registration. And some value added in services include fundraising, training.
那么中国的孵化器第二个发展阶段呢，实际上有4个特点，一个就是民营资本的介入，第二个呢是做了很多专业型的孵化器，以前都是做综合型的，做专业型的孵化器，按照技术领域做专业孵化器。那么第3个呢，就是创业投资和风险投资来逐渐的加大。那么第4个呢，就是国家进一步出台了对孵化器支持的一些政策。
So the second stage of incubation development in China featured by 4 characteristics. The first one is the entrance of private capital. So the private sector started to get involved in the incubator business. And the second is to formulate professional incubators. Previously, as I mentioned in stage 1, there were mainly comprehensive incubators. Professional incubators are developed, are categorized by different segments or industries. And the third is the provincial tax policies has been further enhanced, and the final, well, the last one will be more venture capital and startup fund coming in.
那么第3个阶段呢，就是中国的孵化器，目前进入一个爆发式的增长阶段。我们现在也可以说是一个世界上的一个孵化器的大国，特别是中国政府提出了大众创业、万众创新以后。中国的孵化器啊，有很多新的模式你比如有投资促进型，有培训的辅导型，还有做媒体的延伸型，也有这种专业的服务型有不同的方式。但是现在呢，做股权投资、做创业投资的就更多了，而且呢，这个企业办的孵化器也更多了。那么中国呢，从这个量变到质变，那么现在呢，涌现出了一大批高质量的，做得比较好的，这样的孵化器。
And in stage 3, the incubator in China started to explode. So there are numerous number of incubators established or created in China in the 3rd stage. So we can be very proud to say that China is a huge country of business incubators, especially after the government issued the policy or started the campaign of mass entrepreneurship and innovation. The incubator has been highlighted more than ever. There are different types of incubators, mainly categorized by the service provided. For example, training-oriented, investments or fundraising oriented, professional service oriented. So there are the different type of incubators providing different mode of services. And also we can see there are many incubators that are very successful in terms of equity investment, fundraising, and startup investment. And also we see an emergence of enterprises sponsored incubators. So overall, in general, China's incubator development has taken a transition from speed to quality.
另外呢，现在中国呢，也有很多这个企业的孵化器，走出去到美国、到加拿大、到德国来到这个海外建一些这种孵化器。跟这个全球的这个资源和中国的市场能够很好的结合。那么同时呢，我们也欢迎，同时也吸引了一大批来自美国、以色列、芬兰等国家知名的孵化器来中国来这个创办这个孵化器。 来发展。那么应该说，孵化器呢也这个国际化也走出了一个很好的一个路子。
And next, I would like to highlight on this slide, I would like to highlight the internationalization or international cooperation in terms of incubator platforms. So we see China has great or active collaboration with the United States, Canada, and Germany and other countries to have exchange in the field of incubator. So, for example, China has set up several of China's incubators have set up their branches or offices in those countries, in those above mentioned countries, and also just to explore the international fund, capital, and markets. And in the meanwhile, mutually, many of the international incubators set up their existence or presence in China. Some of the US incubators from the United States, Israel, and Finland has opened up their China office.
那么中国呢，现在有4个大的这个创业孵化的集聚区，就是创新创业是非常活跃的。一个就是环渤海，北京啊、天津啊、青岛、大连；一个呢就是长三角，上海、南京、苏州、合肥、武汉、杭州，那么还有一个呢就是珠三角，就是在深圳、广州，东莞、佛山这一带。那么还有一个呢，就是这个我们西部地区的成都和重庆，那这些地方的话呢，都是中国创新创业最活跃的地方，每年有大量的创业公司产生，这个风险投资也非常的活跃，所以呢，这个孵化了大量的这种新的科技企业，这个就为这个区域经济的发展呢，提供了非常这个可持续发展提供了非常重要的支撑。
On the slides, you can see there are different clusters of those incubation platforms and makerspace. So here I would like to highlight 4 of them. The first one is in the Bohai Bay area, mainly include Beijing, Tianjin, Dalian, Qingdao, these municipalities and local areas. And the other one is from the Yangtze River Delta, that is composed of Shanghai, Hangzhou, Ningbo, and Nanjing, those kind of tier 1, tier 2 cities. And the third one is from the Guangdong, Shenzhen area. So they created different clusters for incubation systems. And the final one is from the West China, composed of the 2 major cities. One is the Chongqing municipality, and the other is Chengdu, which is the capital city of Sichuan province. So in these areas, we can see a lot of new startup companies emerged on a yearly basis, and also very active VC venture capital operations and and exchanges. And we see, we also see that science and technology related enterprises are the core for the sustainable development of regional economy.
那么呢，我也给大家一些建议啊。就是我想的话呢，就是说，孵化器还是一个非常重要的这个一个非常重要的创业孵化的一个载体。那么政府呢，应该对创业孵化器给予一些税收的优惠政策。另外呢，要鼓励建立专业的孵化器，建立公共的技术服务平台。另外呢，就是对孵化器可能能力的建设要特别的关注。特别是对投资培训这个咨询那么这些服务的话呢，要不断的提升他们的服务能力。另外呢，就是这个孵化器的发展呢，特别是对初创公司、初创企业，我想呢，这个股权投资是不可或缺的一个非常重要的政策工具。所以呢，在天使投资、在创业投资、风险投资这方面，我们要给予匹配。
According to the business incubator, I would like to give you these 4 suggestions as you can view on the slides. The first one is build incubation carriers, provide preferential incentives for the business incubator. And the second is encourage the establishment of professional incubators For example, public technology service platforms to provide targeted service for startups in key areas. And third is in addition to low-cost space, incubators should also provide startups with high-level entrepreneurial services, for example, financial and investment services. And finally, the government should provide physical or financial support, for example, like venture capital, angel investment, guiding capital, and equity investment to give a full support to those incubators.
那么，我想介绍第3部分呢，就是关于中国技术市场的建设。
Now let's move to the third part about technology markets.
这是中国所独有的这么一个做法吧。因为在国际上可能很难有这种技术市场的这种体系，因为中国呢，中国的这个原来最早的是计划经济，那么在市场经济过渡的过程当中呢，它有一些体制机制呢需要进行优化。另外呢，中国的高校和科研机构都是国有的事业单位，那么很多呢都是职务发明。那么职务发明在做转移转化的过程，在做产业化的过程当中，怎么能够激励个人，怎么能够激励创业？那么怎么来促进成果的转移转化？那这就是技术市场的功能和作用。
So I should say technology market is a China-specific phenomenon or existence which cannot be replicated or which cannot be exist in the other countries or in another national national situation. Because in China, I just mentioned you about the transition from planned economy to market-oriented economy. During the process, the institution and system need to be optimized. So for China, most of the higher education bodies or universities are public owned. That is the state owned bodies or organizations. So all these assets, science and technology knowledges or assets are belonged to the government, so owned by the government, by the public. So so actually hereby this technology market serves as the platform to promote or to encourage the personnel, faculties in terms of innovation and startup, and trying to tap the potential of the university asset for further transformation and industrialization and tech transfer.
那么中国的技术市场呢，主要做这么一些工作。一个呢，就首先确立了技术是一种特殊的商品，那它可以流通，那么第二个呢，就是说我们政府出台了一些政策，鼓励技术的转移，鼓励技术的许可，鼓励技术的交易，鼓励这个技术的转让，鼓励技术的服务。那么这个呢，就是你比如说在一定数额以下都可以享受所得税的优惠。那么第3个呢，就是我们建立了一些技术转移的示范机构，建立了一些示范转移的示范机构。那么第4个呢，就是怎么来调动科研人员的积极性，对这个高校和科研院所的这些科技成果的处置权、收益权、使用权进行下放，来推动科技服务业的发展。
So for the technology market in China, actually it has several major points I would like to highlight. The first one, the technology market has identified technology as a type of commodity that can be circulated on the markets. And the second is the related policy issued by the government to allow technology transfer and technology-related services and licensing to make them legal. And the third is to give tax rebate or tax reduction for incomes or revenues generated by this technology transfer, so technology contract or technology circulation. And the fourth one is to set up the demonstration organizations or platforms. And the last part is to tap the potential of faculties, university faculties, and trying to explore a new way or innovative way for to encourage the transformation and industrialization of these university science and technology achievements, to give the team or to give the individuals or faculties the rights to dispose, the right to use, or the right to enjoy the revenues or benefits from the technology.
那么我们呢，这个在技术市场这方面的话呢，目前还在做一些新的探索，就是做这个技术市场，特别是技术要素这种市场化的配置就是鼓励呢这个技术的流动和转移那么我们要建更多的技术转移机构，要这个培训更多的技术经理人，要促进创新和创业来推动这个技术市场的发展。同时呢，还有我们建立一些这种技术交易所，来做这种技术的资本化和证券化，来促进这个技术呢这个跟产业的结合。
Currently speaking, we are doing another intensive exploration of experiments and trying to make the elements of innovation, or trying to make trying to marketize those production elements. So giving the foreplay of the technology being circulated and being transferred freely on the market. And we are creating a number of organizations, or we are cultivating a number of technology related managers, or to set up the basis for technology circulation and transfer. And meanwhile, under the mechanism of entrepreneurship and innovation, we established several technology platforms or technology market platforms for further trading in that perspective, by adopting the mechanism of securities or capitals. So using these kind of financial instruments to serve the technology market and to serve the technology as a commodity.
第四个方面，我想介绍一下中国在支持企业这方面所设计的一些政策。
Next, I would like to give you the example of high-tech enterprises.
那么第一个呢，就是其实，在科技园区最早中国就是对高新区内的高新技术企业来进行支持。这里边早期呢，我们选择了11个技术领域，主要是推动企业所得税的减免。
So actually, in the early stage, we mainly giving the provincial policies or support to high-tech enterprises from the high-tech zones. We have designated 11 categories of technical fields according to then developed development of science and technology.
那么第二个呢，就是中央政府呢支持科技型中小企业的创新。那这个里边呢，就是99年呢，我们设立了一个中小企业的创新基金。那么它有3种支持方式，一种呢就是无偿资助，第二种就是贷款贴息，第3种呢就是资本金投入。那么对一些企业解决这个市场失灵这个阶段，在研发阶段不是在竞争阶段，在研发阶段给一些政策性的支持。
And the stage 2 also, we focus is the central government has leveraged many policies to support the small and medium enterprises in the science and technology fields to develop. So it's kind of like a cultivation of those science and technology small and medium enterprises. And in the year 1999, the Innovation Fund for technology-based firms is formed to support those type of small and medium enterprises during the R&D phase, not the market competition phase.
那么第3个方面的话呢，就是关于高新技术企业，特别是2008年以后呢，我们重新修订了高企的政策。原来只有在科技园区内享受的这种高企政策推广到了区外， 就全中国所有的地方都可以实行这种同样的政策。那么这个政策呢，也起到了非常好的效果。实际上，主要是鼓励企业加大研发投入，加强技术创新，加强人才的吸引，来特别是在一些前沿科技、战略性的新兴产业这方面来加大投入，给予重点的支持。
So in the year 2008, the Ministry of Science and Technology of PRC has extended the policy from high-tech enterprises in the high-tech zone to high-tech enterprises in all China. This is to serve the purpose of encouraging the enterprises to attract talents and to cultivate talents and to build their strengths and capabilities in emerging and strategic industries.
那么就是进入到这个21世纪啊，实际上，新经济条件下呢，我们涌现出了一个新经济的现象，就是有一些大批的这种瞪羚企业的产生。那么瞪羚企业呢，就是实际上就是它这个成长呢是超常规的，成长历程比较短，区域性的集聚，年复合增长率啊都比较高。那么这部分呢，也是我们现在关注的一个企业的类型，那么很多地方的话呢，有一些区域性的政策，给予支持。
So in this century, as we see the new economy emerges and flourishes, and there is a very unique type of or new type of enterprises. We called it gazelle enterprises. Those enterprises are featured by strong and explosive growth within a very shorter period, and also featured by a local cluster, and also featured by a very strong and crazy annual compact growth rate. So there are many local policies to support that type of enterprises.
那么第5种企业呢，就是在互联网时代，在数字经济的条件下，在平台化这个过程当中，其实中国呢也涌现了一批这种独角兽的企业。那么这批独角兽企业是由技术、由人才、由商业模式、由资本由市场来驱动它发展。所以中国呢也是在世界上可能独角兽最多的国家之一。那么这类企业呢，我们的这个中央政府和地方政府也都非常的关心。那么这个是爆发式的成长。那么很多呢就成为了这个行业，特别是一些新的行业的一些新的领军型的企业。这也是我们非常关注的一部分重点企业。
Another type of enterprises, we call it a unicorn enterprise, which is very well known to all of us. And this type of enterprise, unicorn enterprises, are driven by talent, technology, markets, and commercial practices. So as we can understand that China is one of the countries that has the most unicorn enterprises. Both the local government and central government attach great importance to this group. And unicorn company enjoyed explosive growth within a shorter period, and some of them has become the pioneer or become the star in their own fields.
这个实际上中国企业的培育、成长和发展啊，得益于中国改革开放这40多年来啊，就是中国整体的创新创业生态在不断的优化，在不断的完善。那么而且呢，伴随着中国巨大的市场，伴随着中国这个经济的这种快速的成长和发展，所以呢，企业也是呢涌现出了很多这样的一些这种高成长、高价值和高科技的这样的企业。这也是我们说做孵化器、做科技园区、 做这个技术转移的一个非常重这个政策相互作用的这么一个结果。
So actually, we can see the China's general environment and the success of those companies benefits each other or support each other. For China, and in the past 4 decades, with the great campaign and strength putting into innovation and entrepreneurship and startup activities, the overall environment for that type of activities or for that type of endeavor has been optimized more than ever. And on the other hand, we can realize that China's economy and Chinese market has been boosted by the high value enterprises, high tech enterprises, and high growth enterprises. So we can see this is a beneficial phenomenon for these different bodies.
所以我们的经验呢，我想呢，给大家一些建议，就是说，我们做园区也好，做孵化器也好，最重要的是要培育企业，就是这个，尤其是这个我们自己培育的高科技的企业，才是一个国家经济内生增长的这个重要的这种支撑。那么我们政府呢，或者说我们科技园区，对这些企业要给制定一些优惠的给制定一些这个税收的政策，给予他们专门的一些支持这个另外呢，就政府呢要营造更好的一些创新创业的生态，那有利于他们的成长和发展。
So for science parks and high-tech zones, I believe enterprises in the science park and high-tech zones are the major pillar and are the major sources to create the indigenous, the intact power for sustainability. And also based on that, I really believe that government and science parks should issue more policies or incentives to support and to encourage those enterprises. Just give you an example, maybe some taxation policies, and to formulate an ecosystem or ecology for innovation and entrepreneurship.
那么，最后呢，我想也简单介绍一下这个中国数字经济发展。
Finally, I would like to touch on the digital economy in China.
应该说最近10年吧，中国在互联网和数字经济发展，应该说也有比较好的这种表现。特别是我们利用新技术、新模式、新组织，形成了新业态、新产业。那么涌现了数字经济、平台经济、共享经济、这个结算经济这样一些新的经济形态。那特别是在云计算、物联网、大数据、人工智能这些方面呢，也产生了很多新的公司。你比如说我们的华为、我们的小米、我们抖音、阿里、腾讯，那么很多呢也在美国、在国外的资本市场上市，也取得了很好的这个经济效益，为我们提供了很好的人们生活水平的这种生活的这种改善生活质量的提高提供了很好的一些服务那么这个呢，应该说也是中国这几年大力发展信息化、大力发展互联网大力发展这个新经济和数字经济所取得的一些成效。
And the next one is about the economy development, a new economy development. In the past 10 years, China, I should say, is a great performer to promote the digital economy and internet and new economies. And in this way, in that framework, China has created China has utilized the new technologies, new models, and new organizations to create new industries, new business models, and generate new values. And for those and also there are different or very innovative economic fields emerged. Just give you an example for example, digital economy, intelligent economy, sharing economy, or platform economy, and a cross-border economy, and etc. So they utilize and they are centering on these different on different segments and industries. For example, cloud computing, Internet of Things, big data, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, addictive manufacturing, and etc. And within this, also the trend within this environment and within this movement, many of renowned Chinese enterprises has given into birth. For example, like Xiaomi and TikTok, Alibaba and Tencent. They are now listed on the foreign exchange stock exchanges, creating economic benefits. And from the other way, their products and their services has really improved the livelihood and improved the quality of living for the Chinese public and for the global citizens. So and also I just would like to highlight about the ICT technology and new economy, new technology and digital technology. So they are they finally come into forms.
所以我们说，现在以数字经济、智能经济为引领的新经济时代已经到来了。那在这里边，我们要特别关注数字的产业化和产业的数字化，要关注数据已经成为驱动经济增长的最重要的生产要素之一。那么，数字的基础设施建设也是非常重要的新的基础设施的建设。 所以中国呢，在这方面呢，也在不断的加大投入我们希望呢，通过数字经济的发展，通过智能化来为经济的发展添加新的动力
And currently speaking, this section or this period of China's economy is featured by new economy or is led by new economy and digital economy. So we see a great integration and collaboration between digital technology and industry. You can see digital industrialization or industry digitalization. So data now plays an important and critical role in the economy development. Digital-driven economy requires strong support from the digital infrastructure and related assets. So you can see in China, there is a new movement of building new infrastructures, which are utilizes or highlighted by this kind of digital technologies or emerging technologies. So that also reflects China has a heavy input in data-driven economy, and by utilizing the intelligence and digital technologies to sustain the economy and to sustain the national development.
好，我今天的这个交流讲解就到此，谢谢大家。
So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you, and we are looking forward for any questions from your side.
Okay, guys, thank you for Mr. Yang's speech. It's also very good one and very detailed information. So now I think let's have a break about 5 or 6 minutes, so you can review his speech and have a little rest about your brain. And we will back in 5 minutes later, and you can start asking your question. And also you can also raise your hand first. So I will know from the Zoom you have questions. Okay, so see you in 5 minutes. 一直都是70多人，最多那时候应该是80人吧。
别休息了，就这个问题，没休息吧？
休息了5分钟，跟他们说。
如果是那个，你把那个视频调，那个东西我们一个人看下面。那他们有的人可能是刚才也问了，是休息一下。他们
他们有很新的东西，他们可能也得消化一下才能提问。
请可以给下面的分享，再看了时间，我看到后面就压缩了。
前面讲的就反复好。我那个模式确实也挺难学的，对他们来讲。我政府的太强了，太强大了，他们这个都是，是吧？来讲还是比较难的。
他们对国情力量比较复杂，
不一样。那些
嗯，
国外做科技园区呢，大部分都是做成孵化器的。
啊，对，而且好多依靠大学，这里边好多都是
大学的。
对，大学的。
我们讲那些东西，他可能不理解，很难理解的。这个怎么做出那么大？
对，怎么可能啊？什么感觉？
看一下我们这个车吧。
这里在感谢老师，这里他们在社交呢，他们还挺活跃的，就上来自己就开始就互相聊起来了。
这个是咱们合作司召集的还是咱们自己？
合作司的那个，就是每年请您讲那个线下啊。然后2020年他不是那个什么嘛，就是疫情办完了。然后合作司当时也让大家办，今年的话就是让各家尝试一下办线上，
这个挺好的，
这个就是
更多的人来，
人多一点，这一下子能8、90人都没问题。那以前线下那个就20多人就到头了。
今天这么多人，1000多人。
你说那直播的那个，那是。
累计就昨天看的算是。这个什么是关掉？在这个直播上咱们说的声音全都能听到。
不是啊，那个能关吗？Okay, guys, welcome back. So let's start with the questions. So if you have questions, you can raise your hands. And
okay. Can I start?
First, yes. First, I saw.
Thank you very much for your presentation. That was excellent. History of Chinese development in this area. That was really amazing. There were lots of the information you said, but I think I couldn't get the point of what's the difference between the high-tech parks and startup parks, or you said startup parks, you have university startup parks. What's the difference in this case? Thank you.
那么刚才提问的这位学员是来自阿塞拜疆，那么他们的主要是首先非常感谢老师在分享的关于这样一个领域的中国在这样一个领域的发展，那么印象非常深刻，那么也分享了非常丰富的一些信息和案例。那我想了解的主要的问题是对于中国的所谓的 high tech park， 就是高科技园区和 startup park， 也就是创业园之间的区别，尤其是高科技园区和大学创业园之间的区别。
好，非常感谢你这个问题啊。中国的高科技园区啊，更偏重于产业。中国的大学科技园和孵化器呢，更偏重于早期企业的孵化。所以这个是主要的差别。那么中国的高科技园区呢，实际上是中国发展产业和经济的一个非常重要的载体。那么大学科技园和孵化器主要是培育企业做成果的转移转化，特别是这个支持早期的企业创新创业的这么一个非常重要的载体。所以的话呢，在孵化器里边，在大学科技园呢，企业都比较早期比较小，这个是特别是没有产业规模啊。那么到了高科技园区呢，我们有跨国公司。有很多大型的高科技企业，也有制造业，也有一些这个新经济的一些数字经济的一些企业。那这里边的话呢，可能是这样的。另外呢，中国的高科技园区呢，你现在有的地方比较大的，像武汉东湖，大概500多平方公里，实际上它是一个新城了，已经是一个产城融合，一个科技的一个新城。所以的话呢，它的功能啊。在不断的被放大，那这可能在这个跟国际上啊，我们有一些做所谓科技园区，可能更多的是一些孵化器啊，大学科技园啊这类的，可能是有些差别。但是在中国的话呢，实际上发展高科技园区，把它作为发展经济和产业的一个非常重要的载体，这就是他们的可能差异啊。
So first of all, thank you for the question. I would like to give my response on that question. Actually, China is quite different in terms of the platforms for science and technology transfer and incubation and startup innovation perspective, because on the international stage, we see most of the players are university incubators or university science parks. But in China, we have two type of such beings or existences. One is the high-tech park, as you mentioned. The other one is the incubator or university-based science parks, so university science parks. For the they are targeting on different phases of development, and they are targeting on different perspectives of the economy. For high-tech parks, it focuses on industry cultivation or industry building. High-tech parks are the major carriers, are the highland for industry building, industry accumulation, and economy development. So, but however, on the other hand, for incubators or university science parks, they focus mainly on the enterprises, startups, or enterprises at the infant stage. So infancy and at the infancy stage. So the incubators or university science parks also highlighted or centering on the transformation and transfer of science and technology achievements from the university and trying to build a bridge to transfer this kind of achievement to enterprises for commercialization and transformation, industrialization. So for incubators, as I mentioned again, they target on the enterprises in the early stage of formation and target on enterprises of small scales, mainly startups. But however, for high-tech parks, they target on the multinational companies, those giants, and large-scale high-tech enterprises or enterprises in the field of the new economy, manufacturing industry, or digital economies. Give you an example of one of the distinguished high-tech parks or high-tech zones in China, which is located in Wuhan Donghu district. The Wuhan Donghu High-Tech Park actually has a total area of 500 square kilometers. So the scale is really amazing and is really impressive. It is already equivalent to a new city or to a district of the municipality. So that are the differences of the high-tech park and startup parks or university science parks, as you mentioned.
Thank you very much for your response. My second question is about page 44. You mentioned there is a special policies for supporting high growth enterprises. What's this special policies? What's coverage of that? And how can we have something like that in our country?
那么接下来的这个问题就是对于高科技企业的一个发展我们提到了在建议中要给到一定特殊的优势的或者是优惠的政策来刺激高新企业的发展。那么这些政策具体是指什么方面，或者是具体是指哪些政策呢？我们如何在自己的国家在自己的市场上复制这种模式和政策？
其实中国支持高新技术企业的发展的政策呀，有中央政府的政策，也有地方政府的政策。那么它涉及到以下这么几类，一个呢就是关于企业吸引人才的政策，那么这个中央政府有一定的这个就是补贴支持。第二个呢就是鼓励企业加大研发投入的政策。中国有一个高科技企业这个研发投入的加计扣除的政策，那么就是鼓励企业你要加大研发投入，那么政府呢可以在这方面给你进行这个补税。那么第三个呢，就是鼓励企业这个搞这个研发中心、工程中心，这样的一些做这种能力建设。那这样的一些政策，就是你加强，你买一些科研的仪器啊、设备啊，那这方面的话呢，政府给一些补贴。那么第四个方面的话呢，就是鼓励企业这个，你比如说这个出口，那在早期呢，我们还鼓励企业这个国际化，你们到国际上去搞研发中心，到国际上去做这个市场拓展，那么给企业的一定的这种补贴。那么还有的话呢，就是对企业的这个所得税，经过认定的高新技术企业，特别是你比如说在国家规定的这些技术领域，鼓励发展的技术领域，那么给企业这个所得税的这个政策，这个政策。那么所以这个政策的话呢，有的是像所得税的政策是中央的。你像有些人才的政策，这个就是地方的给的这个政策，地方给的政策，所以的话呢，这个还有的，你比如说对这个瞪羚和独角兽高成长企业的政策，包括企业这个上市，这个到资本市场去融资上市，那么政府呢也积极的鼓励他们，也给予一定的这种政策的引导和补贴，那么这些呢都是。中国呢支持企业，围绕着创新创业，围绕着能力建设，围绕着市场拓展，围绕着这个资本化所给予的一些支持。
So actually, for those preferential policies I mentioned to support or to stimulate high-tech enterprises in China, comes from two major sources. The one is from central government and the other one is from the local governments. Generally speaking, these policies can be put into the following categories. The first one is to encourage enterprises to attract talents, to attract professionals. Local government will give subsidies to to enterprises to attract the talents and professionals and human brains. And the second is to encourage to issue related policies to encourage enterprises to enhance its input in R&D activities. For example, tax redemption, rebate, or exemption. That means the amount of money you put into R&D activities will be deducted from the overall taxation values of your company. And the third is about to encourage enterprises to set up R&D centers and science labs, engineering centers, and also to purchase facilities, devices, or equipment for the usage of those centers and labs. This is also giving subsidies. And the fourth one is to encourage the enterprises to participate in the international cooperation and international interaction by setting up R&D centers in a foreign country or by creating a marketing campaign in overseas markets. And the next one is about the corporate income tax. This is also this policy is issued by the central government to give some preferential policies in terms of the corporate income tax for companies that has been certified with this with these incentives, or companies from the fields that has been identified by the central government to be able or to be eligible to receive such type of incentives. And the next is about high growth enterprises, as mentioned about the gazelle enterprises and unicorn enterprises. For those high growth enterprises, for any of their financing activities, fundraising activities, or IPO activities, the government gave full support. So I just give an example. I give you one sentence conclusion that the Chinese government, central government, local government gave full support to enterprises, to high-tech enterprises in capacity building, in capital involving, and in market expanding, and also in the talent attraction.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So let's go to the next question from Albertson from Philippines. You can start your question now.
Hi. A very nice presentation. Thank you very much. So my question is about the National Technology Transfer Centers. How does it differ from other innovation supports that the Chinese government is providing, like, for example, technology business incubators and high-tech parks? So where does the national, in terms of mandate, how does the National Technology Transfer Centers differ from the rest? Thank you.
那么我们这个问题是来自菲律宾学员的一个问题，那么同样是问到了关于不同机构之间它们的属性或者是性质的职能的一些区别。这个问题是主要关于那么中国在成立了一系列的这个高科技园区、创新的这个孵化器以及高科技的这个高新技术区。那么在另一方面的话，我们又提到了国家的这个技术转移中心等等这种性质的机构。那么这个机构技术转移中心与上述其他的机构有什么不同？
高新区呢，实际上和孵化器呢都是一个载体，他们在这个园区和孵化器里面都会聚集很多企业。技术转移中心呢，实际上是一个服务机构，它是个服务机构，它主要是把这个高校和科研机构的一些科研成果，怎么转移到企业，获得相关的做产业化的这些机构，那么刚才我前面讲了，园区呢是做产业发展经济的载体。那么孵化器呢是培育企业的，但是技术转移中心的话呢，这个原来其实在早期的话呢，实际上它不是发展经济，也不是这个培育企业，它主要是怎么把学校的科研机构的成果转移出去。这个在美国的很多高校呢有很多这个技术转移机构， 也有很多技术转移机构，它主要是做这个。那么给这些老师做这个知识产权的服务，做这个跟企业做这个对接做一些相关的咨询那么做一些法律方面的一些服务那么这样的话呢，促进高校和技术转移的这个成果呢向这个企业来转移那这是他们的区别。那么在属性上呢，实际上这个园区它的管委会，它的职能更多，那么像园区管委会，包括这个它这个有包括土地的开发，这个园区的建设，企业的招商，这个还有这个很多财政服务，还有公共基础设施的建设等等，它都要管。那么孵化器呢，主要是做这个企业的这个服务，是企业的服务和这个政策的导入这个服务的集成那么这一些这个服务。那么技术转移机构呢，相对的这个它的属性和职能就比较单一，所以它一个是没有那么多人，另外呢，相对的业务呢也比较简单那么这个呢就是他们之间的这个差别。但是现在呢，中国也有一种新的趋势，就是孵化器和技术转移中心它在进行融合。你比如中国现在有一种新型的研发机构，它就把科研、技术转移和创业孵化都有效有机的整合在一起，它这个功能都在一个单位就实现了，就完成了，所以的话呢，这个也有一种趋势呢，就是就孵化器的职能和研究开发的职能，还有技术转移的职能再融合，这也是一种新的趋势，但是呢，从机构的这个属性上来讲呢，还是略有差异。
So thanks for the question. First of all, I would like to give you my response to this question for high-tech zone and high-tech zone actually it's different, and incubators, they are both carriers or they are both bodies to undertake this kind of a clustering or aggregating of enterprises or to educate or just to cultivate enterprises. So they are both platforms. But for technology, for tech transfer centers are service bodies, are service entities. So mainly in charge of bringing science and technology achievement from universities or from higher educations to enterprises or to organizations that specialize in industrialization of technology. So originally speaking, technology transfer centers does not shoulder any responsibility in economy development, in enterprises development or cultivation. It is only a platform, a service body to bring the university's asset out to the public or to the enterprise for further to tap the market potential of it for transfer and for transformation. So the United States has many examples of such type of technology transfer center in the university scale. They provide services such as intellectual property protection, matchmaking, and between the suppliers and the demanders. And also they provide consultancies and legal services. But for Science Park, the major body to carry out operations and management of Science Park are the management committee of the Science Park that has a greater role or functionality, including land planning, Science Park contribution and developing, business attraction and introduction, financing and accounting services, infrastructure and utility preparation and building. So those are the roles of the management committee of the Science Park, which is greater than the service functionality of the technology transfer center. So for incubators, actually, another way, incubator is actually to introduce the policies to startup enterprises, to small scale enterprises. So it's actually to integrate, to combine these two. And incubators but now in China, we find a new phenomenon or new trend that is to combine, integrate technology transfer center together with the incubator. So within one physical entity, the functionalities of both incubators and transfer centers can be realized. Because currently speaking, we know technology transfer center has a very small team with limited functionality and responsibilities. But after the combined existence or organization, so as I mentioned again, all these functionalities can be achieved within one physical entity. So all these R&D, research and development activities, or technology transfer, or even technology products incubation can be done in this integrated platform of both incubator and technology transfer center. So that is my response to this question.
Okay, thank you for the questions. And the next one is Arash from Iran PTP organization. You can start.
Yes. Hello, my name is Arash. I'm the half of the Paris Technology Park speaking. First of all, thank you for your presentation. I have two questions. One is about exactly, I want to know that or how long the startups are exactly stay in the incubator. And the second question is about the policy of tax protection or tax.
OK，那么我们这位学员是来自伊朗的一个园区，那么他提到的这个问题是针对于创业孵化器。那么对于一个创业公司，它可以在这个孵化器里停留多长时间，或者入驻多长时间？另外一个问题就是关于提到的这个税收的政策，比如说退税或者是减免的一些政策。
那个。孵化器里边入驻这企业在这里面入驻多长时间？这个不同类型的孵化器啊，实际上不太一样。其实，在科技部认定的孵化器里边，它有一些规定，就是说这个入孵的企业3到5年，它不希望时间太长，它希望保持孵化器的流动性。那么，但是呢，在一些民营企业所创办的孵化器，如果他对他的在孵企业有投资的话，特别是这个有的孵化器，有的民营企业做的这个孵化器和产业园它关联在一起的话，他不希望这个企业长大了以后就马上离开，他希望还能够在他这个孵化器里面能够租更多的房子。能够给他贡献更多的这个收入，那么等这个企业上市了，就特别他这个人数增加的很快很多的时候，装不下他了，他才离开。所以呢，这个呢应该说可能就是从国有的孵化器和民营企业办的孵化器呢，这个是有所差异。但是这个没有说特别严格的这么一个界定，这是一个问题。第二个，对入孵孵化器的企业这个税收的政策的话呢，现在是这样，就是说中国对这个早期的公司的企业现在像小微企业收入很少的时候，实际上它的这个所得税它是这个减免的，那是减免的。另外呢，就是说入驻孵化器，它的房租，它可以有的是政府补贴，有的是免收的，有的是免收的。那么第三个呢，如果说你入驻这个孵化器， 孵化器认为你这个项目也比较好，那它是有投资的，那就给你投资。那么这个呢，这个是呢，是一个很好的一个政策。那么第4方面呢，有很多孵化器，它在扩张过程当中，它要吸引人才，它要申请专利，它要搞研发。那在这方面，政府都有一定的补贴政府都有一定的补贴。所以呢，这个呢，就是孵化器一般来讲，这个给创业公司所提供的一些政策。那么当然还有一些政府办的孵化器，它条件比较好的，你比如说做一些基础性的服务，你比如说给你免费的做一些咨询，做一些培训，做一些法务的、会计的服务，可能他们都有一定的减免或者补贴这样一些政策。这个就是对创业公司那么这个我们的孵化器所支持的一些这个好的一些税收的政策。
So actually you raised 2 questions. For the first question is the period of stay of a startup in an incubator. So I should say there is no clear-cut period of time. And I should give you an example because incubators have different forms or have different types of incubators in China, private owned and government owned. I should say that actually those 2 types of incubators have some differences, but do not have a clear-cut boundary. Enterprise, for example, the incubators that has been certified by the Ministry of Science and Technology or PRC does not have a clear definition of period of stay of startup, but ideally they deem the period of stay as 3 to 5 years because they want to create a constant flow within the incubator to make sure there are teams coming in and there are teams going out. But however, for the private from the incubators sponsored by private sectors or private enterprises, sometimes the incubators are closely connected to the science park. And also for most of the cases, private sectors or enterprises invested in the startups. So they want these startups to stay as long as possible because once with the growth of the startup, after scale up, they need to rent more spaces and they need to spend more like utilities and other like administrative costs. So that is the source of revenue for the private rent incubators. So again, in the principle of stay as long as possible for startups in a private sponsored incubators. But however, if the if the startup team grow really, in a really explosive or rocketing speed, for example, being listed on the stock exchange or developing into a team, a very large scale team. So that means the incubators cannot satisfy the company for its existence or for its operation. And so at that time, the private company or the private sponsored incubators have to let the company go. So these are my answers to your first question about the period of stay for a company in incubator. Put them into 2 categories. And the second about your question for tax rebate or tax refund, whatever it is, about the tax policies, taxation incentives. So for enterprises under small scale or even less than small scale enterprises, they can enjoy tax off policies or incentives. And also for this type of enterprises which are located in the incubators, they can enjoy free of rental or enjoy the government subsidies to trade off part of its rental. And also, if the incubator consider the projects or this business running by the type of enterprises are ideal or are promising or have future potentials, they will like invest in those companies in their programs, like getting some equity or giving some investments. So for incubators also, incubators need to generate patents and generate R&D results. Because that is the role or that is the responsibility of incubators, because if they want to receive the government subsidies or government supports, they need to create something innovative and high tech. So these kind of government policies or government subsidies will be transferred from the incubators to these kind of startup companies. And also there are a group of mature or well-established incubators in China. They can provide further information, they can provide value-added services to startups. For example, they can provide consultancies to the to startup and entrepreneurship, and they can provide training sessions. They can provide training sessions in the field of finance and accounting, and just etc. So all this has been supported by the government, and so all the activities or endeavors from the incubators are supported by the government. This is my answer to your second question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The answer was complete and excellent. Thank you.
说这个回答的非常的满意，完全是回答了他所有的问题。
Okay, guys. Do you have more questions? So if you don't have questions or you would like to write down something, you can write it in the chat part. So if you don't have any questions before you leave, I would like to invite you to do the photos together. So please open up your video for 1 or 2 minutes so we can take a video together with our lecturer, Mr. Yang. So and thank you to Mr. Yang for his impressive speech today.
结束了是吧？
站在屏幕前给他们拍个照片。
把这个拍一下，然后我站侧面就行。都在弄头发。不是，您站这就行。
就是他那个您用手机拍。
对，您站在那个旁边就可以。就是跟这屏幕合影。您转过来。
您就对着他们从这儿拍。这样拍。
不是杨主任，您转过来，背对着他们就行。背对。对，
就这样给他。
对，站在屏幕。哎，对。
他们怎么还没开始？
金玉，
有几个，它应该是好几页，你找一个页多的。
金玉，你让他们那个拍小一点，就是这种开摄像头的拍起来。
哦，对，这就已经所有开摄像头。
已经开所有开摄像头啊，行。然后你再可以，行，这样可以。你多拍几个，我们里面拍一下。好，1、2、3，2、3，好，可以了，好，谢谢杨导，今天辛苦了。Okay, guys, we are finished today, so you can leave now, and if you have questions or you would like to have a conversation with me, you can stay and to start to talk. 你和新人先送一下，然后他们可能有一些问题，我再来解答。
谢谢你。
好，咱们就走，谢谢。
好，Thank you，拜拜。
很关键。使用头像的不是造图是吧？然后就这样很好。
该说的都说了，他们这
区别没法强调，你改名的说话再
你把你给你点发一个，这多好看，你说那好看。
可以收一下吧。然后等他，然后他们都没事了再说。
你可以跟他说留言呀什么的，然后老师回答之后，你给他发邮件过去。
我在。看他们怎么出来。他们退出时，有些人都不让你写上。
欧洲有些赶上是不是吃午饭的事情？
是，刚开始讲的时候人是越来越多，最多的是80人。那个，然后我们现在我一般的话，
就是人不少。一个人讲师，啥别搞。你说话没有，你说的没有那个啥，就特别中。对，就是咱们的群，我刚才是他不是说，
植物不就是这么活法？
对，就是植物就活法。跟他比吧，我叫我吃过。
行，最后那电脑明天节电，直播那电脑，直播弄最后没电。好，就明天所有笔记本都能静电的都静电。然后这个你先静音吧，我把咱们先静音。再等一会儿他们开始有问题。